हेलो एवरीवन, मुझे आशा है कि आप सब स्वस्थ एवं सुरक्षित होंगे। सो बिना वक्त को बर्बाद किए हुए हम लोग चलते हैं अपने हिंदू पेपर एनालिसिस की ओर। सबसे पहले हम आइडेंटिफाई करेंगे कौन सा इंपॉर्टेंट न्यूज़ है इस न्यूज़पेपर में और उसके बाद हम लोग उसे एनालाइज करेंगे। सो दिस इज वेंसडे मार्च 30, 2022 दिल्ली एडिशन, राइट? We are going to directly see what are the important, identify what are the important news. Let's see. Mulla Periyar Tier 9 Kerala seek more time to respond. Okay, again this is always coming in the news, so no need to read it much. Okay, there is nothing much here in this part. Now this is important. Ahead of Lavrov's arrival, US to send deputy NSA to India. Fine, we'll see what is the what is there in this news. Let's move forward. India power project to replace Chinese venture in Sri Lanka. Okay, this is also important because India, China, Sri Lanka triangular relationship is concerned. Fine, let's move further. There is nothing much here. Let's come together. No, yes, this is important. Assam and Meghalaya ink pact to end border row. Okay, fine. So let's move further. There is nothing on this page until now. Okay, nothing on this page. Let's see on page 3. Okay, there seems nothing here. Now on page 4 it's all seems advertisement. Page 5 is also advertisement. Page 6, let's come. I don't think there is anything. Again, rhino population, yes, this is important. Up by 200 in Kaziranga. Fine, so we'll be doing this. And Mulla Periyar, fine, just read it. There is nothing much to do. They have asked for more time. There is nothing much involved in that news. Now let's come to the editorial. What is wrong with synchronizing education? Peter Ronald D'Souza. Let's see who is the Didi Kosambi visiting professor of Goa University. The views expressed are personal. Okay, fine. Let's see. The Vice President of India are going for an overhaul of Macaulay system of education is fine, but there are challenges. Okay, this could be a good article. Fine, because I think 10 or 20 days ago, Vice President of India, Mr. Venkaiah Naidu, has actually said this. It came in the newspaper about overhauling of the Macaulayan system of education in India. So, what are the challenges to it? Okay, we should do it without sufficient cause. Unwarranted arrest at behest of majoritarian outfits dent country's image. Okay, again this is, if you want you can read it. I don't think it is very important as far as the examination is concerned. Bridging the bay in quest of stronger Bpsc. Okay, Bpsc meeting is going to be held, so every day or two we'll get something on Bpsc. We'll give it a read and see what points we can extract. Centralizing tests, a common test as sole determinant of merit for admission is problematic. Okay, this could be a good one in higher education prospect. We'll see what it is. And Democrat doomsday book that launched a movement. There is a consensus that most of the fundamental factors are discussed in limit to growth have come true. Okay, limit to growth model of 1970s is a very important model. Okay, it was given by Neo Malthusian. We'll see what it is, but I don't think it will be very important for examination. Still, we'll see what are the constraints to the concept and all those things. Unreformable criminal justice. Any project aimed at criminal justice reform must accept the problem ingrained in our system instead of wishing them away. Okay, this line itself makes the entire article clear that what it will be about. We'll give it a read, just a brief reading, and see what it is there. It has to offer to us for our examination. Myanmar continues suppression of democracy. I don't need to read it. It is Myanmar. Facebook and fake news. Okay, we'll give a read to the gist only. I don't think it will be very important. Opposition MP support for trade union strikes in Lok Sabha, not important. Lakhimpur witness hurt in holy squabble, not important. India seeks closure Bpsc partnership, obviously important. We'll just give it a read. 34 outsider brought land in JNK. Rana Yog stopped at airport. Panel grills Facebook on politically motivated algorithm. On this thing only, on this news only, that article has come, of which we are going to read the gist. Okay, we will not welcome any act that will help Russian circumvent sanction. Fine. Who is this person? European Union is not pleased. Let them be not pleased. That is their problem. Promote social welfare scheme. Modi tells MP. Okay, makes brief visit to parliament. Okay, fine. There is nothing here. Decided on mixing of vaccine, reducing interval. Okay, undecided, not decided. Fine, I thought it is decided, therefore I was going to read it. Fine. Army chief said to review preparedness. Okay. Information for data enumeration of OBC. Okay, we must read it. What is there in this? How what information are lacking? It should be known. Call for OBC quota ranks louder in RS. Okay, fine. High suicide rate in CAPF sets ministry. It may be an ethical concern, so we have to give it a read. An advertisement: fire breaks out at Sariska Tiger Reserve. Okay, again one tiger reserve is there in new Sariska Odisha it is. So we have to see what is there. Fine. Russia to scale back attack near Kiev after 1 month, and today is I think 30 na 1 month 6 days, 4 days, right? 30 and 34 days. It is saying that it will be scaling back. Okay, fine. Moscow insists on payment in ruble. Okay, these things were expected news. Sri Lanka media clarification reveals recent defense pacts with India. The maritime security deal for floating dock and surveillance aircraft has not been publicly mentioned so far by either country. Okay, BRICS media hold first training program for journalists. Just give it a read what it is. Maybe in one day examination it may come. At least 5 killed in shooting in Israel. ICRA cuts 23 growth forecast to 7.1. Ukraine war. Leave it. They are doing every now and then. Oil prices spikes disturbance started a couple of weeks ago. Okay. India buy Russian Sun oil at record price. Okay, there is nothing. Report on 5G in 7 to 10 days says try. Mean higher attrition leading to better news. Nothing there. Samsung eyes more on mid high end phone. Nothing there. Okay, when a captain realizes the wells of creativity has dried up. Fine, there is nothing here. Too hot for sunrises. No, we don't need to read it. Okay, on this page is there anything? I don't see anything here. Okay, fine. So we have actually came to end of this part of identification of important news. Now we'll be moving on to the analysis section. So in this news, ahead of Lavrov's arrival, US to send deputy NSA to India. Fine. Now this shows how much US is concerned about India growing India-Russia ties, right? During this war times. Okay. Now we see this. Although they have said that the arrival was planned much before the declaration of Lavrov's arrival, but I'm sure that this is an emergency measure taken so that before Russian envoy or Russian FM can meet Indian counterpart, America can put forward its grievances here, right? It is written also that he will be meeting Mr. S. Jaishankar, and the meeting also coincides with the British Foreign Secretary Liz Truss meeting. Fine. Timing of visit: when asked whether NSA visit has not yet been announced, so he said that has been timed so as to preempt the discussion with Mr. Lavrov. An official said Mr. Singh plans has been made before reports about Russian foreign minister has appeared, right? So they are saying that he would be coming anyhow, anyway, if Russian counter FM would be coming or not. That was not an issue with USA, but prima facie it feels that it is a decision taken in rush. He was there, this deputy NSA was there in China, okay, to attend a meeting on Afghanistan, and from there only he was feels so, or it prima facie it feels that from there only he was given the instructions to go and visit India, and therefore he is visiting India, right? There are 2 or 3 related news. Okay, his name is Dalip Singh, and it shows that he is Indian origin, right? There are 2 or 3 related news. Russia to scale back near Kiev. Okay, then Russia is going to pull out from Kiev after. There are 2-3 things. Fundamentally scale back the operations near Ukraine capital Kiev and northern city of Chernihiv during the face-to-face negotiation. Fine. In Istanbul, Ukraine proposed neutrality and non-nuclear status. Fine. Ukraine has proposed 2 things in return for guarantees and signaled compromise on Crimea. So they have signaled compromise on Crimea, which was seized by Russia in 2014, right? So it prima facie it also feels that Russia has more or less won this war. Why? Because Russia has never declared his target of capturing Ukraine. It always said about demilitarizing Ukraine, and see, Ukraine has decided to become neutral as well as non-nuclear, and as well as continue its non-nuclear status. So this means that Ukraine has been demilitarized from acquiring any military or nuclear heads in future. This shows that Russia may have won the war, although on ethical ground Russia has lost the war, right? Now, Indian power projects to replace Chinese ventures in Sri Lanka. Okay, concern were raised over projects proximity to Tamil Nadu. India will set up hybrid power projects in 3 islands of Jaffna, effectively replacing Srika. MOU for project was among the signal during MOU was signed when our external affairs minister visited, and his counterpart visited on late Monday. Fine. These are the things only. Okay, it will be replacing Chinese project where on the 3 islands of Jaffna. Okay, Jaffna Peninsula, you know. This section is Jaffna Peninsula, so of that it will be going. Fine. It will be replacing Chinese investment there, right? Sri Lanka defense pact pose no threat. Sri Lanka Minister of Defense on Monday clarified that two defense pacts signed with India pose no threat to national security. This come after opposition flagged the deal threat to Sri Lanka security and raised concern about secrecy around the deal for floating dock and surveillance aircraft. These are the two projects that will be built for defense sector, and that will be a floating dock and a surveillance aircraft, right? So the opposition is saying that India can use this against Sri Lanka, but obviously we won't be using it. Why? Because Sri Lanka is our trusted partner since ages. We share cultural ties. Even Ramayana mentions about Sri Lanka, so we can understand that how important, how culturally important it is for us. So we won't be doing that anyhow. Pay in ruble for gases. Now this Russia is saying that we cannot give gas free to European nations, so they have to pay in ruble because they have already put sanctions on dollar. So you start paying in ruble, and other are saying that no, it cannot happen and all those things. Fine. Meghalaya and Assam pact to end border row. They are doing it okay, step by step, and in the first step they have obviously dealt with where it is written somewhere here the exact amount, about 35 or something decimal. Okay, yeah, here it is, 36.79 square kilometer. Okay, in which Assam received 18.51 square kilometer and remaining 18.28 was received by Meghalaya. Now look, Assam and Meghalaya are neighbors, and when they mutually solve the border dispute between them, this shows the maturity level of the two leaders, right? And this is what is required in today's world. We want a system where border disputes can be easily solved, so that we do not need to take up arms, or the country do not need to take up arms to protect its border. If both the neighbors respect each other's mutual border, then the spending of defense sector can be spent somewhere else. That expenditure can be made in social sector, right? And that would lead to overall development of the country. Okay, Mr. Shah said about 70% of the interstate border dispute has now become dispute free with signing of the agreement. Fine. With signing of this agreement, over 70% of interstate boundary has become dispute free. Still 30% is remaining. Fine. So we have no other news on page 1. Move to page 2, nothing. Page 3, nothing. Page 4, nothing. Page 5, yes, there was a news. Again, Mulla Periyar Dam is always in the news. It is in Kerala, feeding to Tamil Nadu. Fine. Rhino population up by 200 in Kaziranga. Kaziranga National Park, where it is? In Assam. Okay. And one horn rhino or greater one horn rhino or Indian rhinoceros in Kaziranga National Park increased by 200 in 4 years. Okay. In 2018 it was about 2413. Now it is increased by 200, so it would be about 2613. Fine. And it is saying that in this period 400 rhinos died due to natural causes, while 3 were poached out. Fine. While poachers killed 3. Okay. Now this is a good sign that we are conserving rhino, especially as some government is conserving rhino. It is a very good sign. And with this, let's move forward. This will be doing it at last, the editorial section. Now let's move directly to other news. India seek closer Bpsc partnership. Obviously we will, because of this Ukraine-Russia war condition, as well as Myanmar's suspensions and all those things after a coup there. So this requires now this entire South Asian and the Bay of Bengal littoral countries requires to cooperate more, so that the present geopolitical tensions can be eased out and mutual growth and development can take place. Okay, and then with respect to that only, our EAM, External Affairs Minister, has said that we need to deepen the cooperation, working together in many more areas. We need effective and fast-paced cooperations. Okay, and tomorrow in the Bpsc partnership charter is going to be signed, which would be a historic event, because till now charter has not been signed, and there was a difference in overall coherence suffering in the Bpsc in recent year because of difference between Bangladesh and Myanmar over Rohingya issues in 2017. So from 2017 there was a problem in Bpsc. Why? Because of Rohingya crisis. Okay, Bpsc has India, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Myanmar and Thailand as its member. The charter and the Bpsc master plan for transport connectivity is expected to boost trade among the member. Obviously, if we have a charter as well as we have a transport lane, then obviously trade and commerce will flourish. Fine. Panel grills Facebook on politically motivated algorithm. If it was also asked about claim that hate content is rewarded on the platform, lack of language experts. So 2-3 things are there: lack of language experts, rewarding of hate comments, and politically motivated algorithm. Now everything was as expected. The parliamentary committee asked, and Facebook said no, these are not true charges. And when the panel asked about the whistleblower Sophie Zhang and other who spoke about the privacy violation and misuse of personal data by Facebook, the Facebook official claimed that whistleblower did not have any direct knowledge or access to the process on which he has commented. Right. So this shows that what is the important condition for being a whistleblower, that you should have a direct knowledge or direct access to the thing that you are commenting on. Okay. So there is nothing much here. Only a parliamentary standing committee has asked, and that of also information on information and technology. Okay. Now let's move further. Nothing on this page. There is one government like informalization for data enumeration of OBC. Give it a read. It is nothing there. Now high suicide rate in CAPF, says ministry. Now this is a matter of concern, because in CAPF actually protects actually looks after our internal security, overall internal security. So high suicide rates means that they are not very much comfortable with their job or their personal and professional life balance, so they are opting for suicide. Okay, there has been some data here. About 156 personnel of CAPF took their own life in 2021, that is last year. So this rate has been high. Fine, and we need to do something about it. Maybe it is the payment issue, maybe it is the long hours of duty, it can be anything, but we must do something for it, because suicide, and that too by people of security agencies, is never good for the overall people. Fire breaks out at Sariska Tiger Reserve. Now Sariska is in Rajasthan, that too in Alwar district, and there is one more called Satkoshia, it is in Odisha. Fine, don't confuse between them. I actually confused while reading the news. I read it as Satkoshia. It is Sariska Tiger Reserve, and Sariska is in Rajasthan. Fine, it has 27 tigers. It is written over here, you can see. Okay. On this page we have this BRICS media to hold first training programs for journalists. Give it a read. There is nothing much here. It is going to hold that thing. Okay, no important news on yes, economy page, nothing on sports page. So with this we end the news analysis, and we move to towards the editorial analysis. So we see here that yes, what is wrong with saffronizing education? It is in this article is in response to the statement made by Mr. Vice President Mr. Venkaiah Naidu some days ago, when he said that we need to saffronize education, right? So we'll see what are the views of the author regarding that in this section, here to here till here. Okay, he has just given the background of the ideas of Mr. Venkaiah Naidu, and from here an inclusive list. From here the real challenges begin. What is written above this is already covered in the articles of Mr. Venkaiah Naidu. So we just need to see the challenges as far as the examination is concerned. So he begins with the first challenge, and the first challenge is that of inclusivity, right? Like Dr. Radhakrishnan, our Dr. Radhakrishnan, S. Radhakrishnan, okay, who understood the Indian civilization very well, once said in his, look here it is written, yes, recommended in chapter 8 of 1949 report that religious education be introduced in our university. He suggested that the class day begins with few minutes of silent meditation, and that students in the first year degree course be introduced to lives of great thinkers like Buddha, Confucius, Zoroaster, Socrates, Jesus, Ramanuja, Madhava, Muhammad, Kabir, Nanak, Gandhi, and all those. So you see how inclusive this list is. This is not just related to some sector specific, section specific. Okay, it is very inclusive list. It has representations from all the major religions of the world. Look, it is written here. It is very inclusive and shows openness of his curious mind by including founders of major religions in his list. Radhakrishnan was affirming their values for Indian education, right? Fine, let's move further. About diverse narratives. Okay, now what will be the diversity of narratives? We have to see. His inclusive list leads to a larger question that saffronization would have to address. Call it second challenge. Fine, call it the second challenge. Which themes and topics should be included and which should be excluded in such education system, right? For example, should we include the 300 Ramayanas of A.K. Ramanuja's essay or not? Agar if we really want to overcome the amnesia of Macaulay's education, fine, we should feel proud of our heritage, then Ramanuja's essay would be included. Ramanuja's scholarship on folk tales of India, just like Dr. Radhakrishnan, has few equals. Okay, this essay celebrates the rich performative and narrative practices of living epic. Oh, fine. So what does it entail? It entails the narrative and performative practices of this Ramayana. Okay, would the new education system accept this diversity of narratives? Because look, the diversity of narratives is what keeps democracy thriving and keep it juvenile or jubilant, right? So will this education system that was being proposed by Mr. Vice President, would it be actually getting these things, actually accommodating this diversity of narratives? Fine. Similarly, we get to the third question. Okay, third challenge. With the model of recovery and reconstruction of India's ancient culture, would the model of recovery and reconstruction of Indian ancient culture, which is about saffronization, which is what saffronization does, be that of Dinanath Batra, who in a long letter to Smriti Irani, when she was HRD minister, set it out, or would that be of that of D.P. Chattopadhyay project on history of Indian science and philosophy culture, which has already been published several volumes of Indian intellectual achievements? So the author is saying that what model would be there for recovery? Would it be that in line with Dinanath Batra's model, or would it be in line with D.P. Chattopadhyay's model? Right. The former espouses of Vidya Bharati project of cultural assimilation. Okay. A thin but toxic agenda, while latter that one, which one? This one, Dinanath Batra, right? He says that it is thin but toxic agenda, while latter is a substantive philosophical response to Macaulay, and the second one is of Mr. Chattopadhyay, D.P. Chattopadhyay. And what does he say? That it is a substantive philosophical response to Macaulay, who had read the PHISPC, this one, project of history of India, science, philosophy and culture volumes, would not have tremetry to write. If Macaulay would have read this work of Mr. Chattopadhyay, then he would have never written, or he would have never dared to written what he has written in his 1835 minutes on education, that a single shelf of good European library was worth a whole native literature of Indian Arabia. So this was very disgusting kind of thing. He should not have said this. But given the situation and circumstances of 1835, and India's past was not rediscovered by then, so it was very obvious that he would have said this. Although if as the author suggests, that if he would have read the works of of D.P. Chattopadhyay, he would have definitely not at least uttered this on public platform. Okay, on Indianization, it is a fourth challenge. So does Mr. Naidu's saffronization side with Dinanath Batra's or D.P. Chattopadhyay's? If by saffronization Mr. Naidu really means Indianization, means if saffronization means Indianization of education, it would include both orthodox and heterodox traditions of India. Fine. The orthodox tradition, basically the Brahminical tradition, the Nyaya tradition, the Yoga tradition, the Mimamsa tradition, right, and other traditions, and the orthodox traditions, especially Buddha and Jaina challenges. Apart from that, Ajivika is there and all those things are there. It would include the great architectural practices of Mughals as well as Sufi and Bhakti movements, right? So would this Indianization will it be including all the practices and cultural aspect of Indian society, or just a religion specific or a period specific aspect of Indian culture, right? If it wants to include all the aspect of Indian culture, then it is a good Indianization. And if it only wants to include a part of Indian culture, then it is incomplete Indianization, right? So after that, we moving to science. Now he says that science is what? Science is what we do with science. Science is science is universal. Fine. Science is always universal. It is just the language that we can translate, like the Japanese do, as they do in Japan, since scientific knowledge is universal, right? So are we going to just do a translation from various language from the English or the accepted scientific languages to Indian books, or we are just going to propound some crazy theories as was proposed in 106th Science Congress in December 2019. Okay, where it was claimed that we were making test tube babies thousands years ago, that Albert Einstein did not understand relativity and all those things. So we are not going in detail of that 2019 Congress. Fine. And finally he says that here it is, that the paradox, does the saffronization endorse the decision of Vice Chancellor to permanently station a Central Industrial Security Force camp inside Visva Bharati, the only university in India that established a nationalist curriculum? Right, so this is a paradox. Why? Because the Vice Chancellor is taking help of Central Industrial Security Force to keep to contain the to maintain the tranquility and peace in the campus, right? So this is actually a paradox, because why do we, if we have such a great education, if we had such a great education system in past and Guru Shishya Parampara was so thriving there, then why do we need security forces inside the campus? The Vice Chancellor did this because of student protest, right? So students are not being allowed to protest also. The government of India supported him. Fine. It is the conception of saffronization endorsed this. In his conception of saffronization endorsed this decision. Then sad to say, Macaulay has strength over Tagore, right? If they are not allowing the students to even protest for their basic needs, right, then what is happening? Then the author believes that in that case Macaulay has obviously trumped over Tagore's viewpoint. Macaulay may have designed the system of education for India, but he was also the author of Indian Penal Code. Fine, Macaulay was also the author of Indian Penal Code. This is correct. We decry Macaulay on education, rightly so. So what we say, we always say that Macaulay system has actually created clerks and babus in India, and the amount of leadership and the amount of scientists and amounts of that higher thinking ability person is actually missing in India. This is a general conception, but sadly we enthusiastically embrace the Macaulay on Indian penal system. Okay, and then that means what? The author has given comparison that one work of Macaulay, that is the Indian Penal Code, and is enthusiastically embraced in India, while the other work, that is the education system of Macaulay, is not is seen in good eyes. And in my opinion, at this point, at this juncture, the author has diverted from his viewpoint. He is comparing two different things, the penal code with the education system. Penal code is a set of document that has been modified over the years. The education system, as far as Indian education system is concerned, the crux of the education system has remained the same. The rote learning aspect that was required during British era is still prevalent till date, and this is the main problem, right? So more or less I go with the views of the author. The author is more or less right here. Only the last statement that he has given, that he is comparing IPC with the education system, it feels a bit irrelevant. Okay, to me it feels irrelevant, to you it can feel relevant. It's perfectly fine. Bridging the way in quest of stronger Bimstech. Always look, tomorrow we are going to sign the charter. Okay, the Bimstech charter, Bimstech master plan for transport connectivity would be discussed, and therefore in the background of this news, these articles are coming. Give it a read. It is just an idea based article. It is giving some ideas. We have to wait for the actual news, that what actually was signed and then what could have been done, right? Now giving ideas right now, taking ideas right now, it is a good read, but as far as examination is concerned, maybe we cannot get many points from here. And this is the other article, centralizing tests. A common test as a sole determinant of merit of admission is problematic. So what it is giving, it is the article will deal more or less with the challenges of a common interest test, right? Initially the article has enumerated why common interest test is good. Why? Look, this would spare aspirant from taking multiple entrance tests and also eliminate unfair advantage gained from disproportionate score in class 12. You know that some boards give very high marks in class 12, some board gives very low marks in class 12, and with that multiple examination pressure, then a level playing field for students, all the students from different background, is not created. This is the problem. Okay, so what will be done by this Central University's common entrance test CU set scores? It would lead to what? Creation of a level playing field from education belonging to all the backgrounds in India. Fine. Yet now what are the challenges? Challenges begin from here. Yet CUET may not qualify as a wholesome determinant for merit given the education and regional disparities in India. While a vast majority study in state vote, obviously vast majority do studies in state board. The test would be based on NCERT syllabus, which is done by CBSE school. So CBSE students automatically get an edge over the state board education, students. The policy limits the class 12th marks as a qualification benchmark and not co-determinant of merit. Now class 12 marks has become what? Qualification benchmark and not a co-determinant of merit. So you score say about, I don't know the exact figures, but keeping the general thing that if you are if you have passed class 12th, say passed class 12th with first division, just considering, it may not be true, then you are eligible for this CUTT examination, right? This kind of thing. So it become only a qualification benchmark and not a co-determinant of merit. With this test being introduced just ahead of admission season, okay, students whose learning process was disrupted by COVID-19 may find it challenging. Obviously COVID-19 has actually shown us how much we need to work more towards a good and inclusive education in India, okay? And this test being introduced just before the admission session this year, what will happen? All the students who have suffered from COVID-19 may find it challenging, because look, if there would have been multiple tests this year, what would have happened? That okay, one test gone wrong, other could be compensated with, but because COVID-19 has severely hit the education infrastructure in India. But what will happen now? There is only one test and you have to go through that test, you have to score in that test, and if you don't score, your year gets wasted. Okay, so this is a problem, and education minister from Tamil Nadu and all those states have given their grievances to the concerned authorities. They have raised the legitimate concerns. Okay, it has been sufficiently demonstrated. Also, fine, it is another challenge. Okay, it has been sufficiently demonstrated that common interest tests spawn in the coaching industry and induce cost heavy hybrid courses from class 6 onward. Look, a common interest test means only one paper, and one paper to be given, and analysis of that paper will be done by coaching industry. So there would be a bunch of coaching industry that would be thriving and they would be charging a handsome amount, a very high cost for such courses that would include maybe class 12th benchmark criteria passing, and as well as getting a good score in that single day examination. Fine, and that too induce course heavy hybrid courses from class 6 onward. We find that various big brands like we can say Byju's, Fitji, Akash, all these big brands that are playing in the 12th class 12th range of education, they have their courses from that starts from class 6 onwards. So what will happen? A single test would lead to, it would lead to or not, it is a thing of future, we cannot directly say that, but it may lead to increased cost heavy hybrid courses. Okay, and orienting a divide, and this would lead to what? This will lead to creation of a divide between haves and haves not. Look, when a person have money, he can buy the course, but what will happen to the student who don't have so much money, lakhs of rupees or 50 and 60,000 of rupees is not there with them, so they cannot buy that course, and so there is a divide, obvious divide created between the haves and have not. Look, the country has managed to go in enabling access to entry-level higher education and bridging the gender and economic gap in its university portal. In such circumstances, it need to be dispassionately examined if prescribing a single interest test as a sole determinant of merit either for CUs or for higher education system as a whole is pragmatic or not, right? So it is for the country now to decide that whether they should do it or not. Fine, so we move to the next one. There is only a thing that you must know: limits to growth. There are 2-3 things. Let's understand the limits to growth. Look, say this is population, okay, this is time, fine, this is carrying capacity of earth. What will happen? Population goes on to grows, and with growth of population there is more and more pressure on resources. A time comes when it is equal to the carrying capacity, and then after that what happens? Negative positive checks starts to build up. Okay, influence of positive checks. What could be positive checks? Wars, disease, disasters, these kind of things that will limit the population. And what will happen? The population will fall down between below the carrying capacity, and then after some time it will regain, and the cycle goes on like this. This is one of the viewpoint of Malthus. Okay, and limits to growth is nothing but a neo-Malthusian viewpoint. Fine. So in this, look, I'm not going into the depth of geography optional. Fine. If I go into the depth of geography optional, it would take about hour or so to understand this entire limits to growth theory and all those things. We don't have so much time, and it is not needed as far as general studies is concerned. So we'll use the minimum ideas required to understand things related to limits to growth. So what limits to growth says, that there is a carrying capacity, okay, of nature above which humans, okay, above which nature will attract positive checks. Fine. What is positive checks? Wars, disease, fine, and disasters and all those kind of things. Okay. Now the book it is saying that okay, limits to growth have predicted that in by 2075 or so world will come to an end, and we are almost in the half of this duration, because it was given in 1972. So we are almost half the way ahead, and we see that some of its warning are coming true. Obviously some of its warning will come true, some of its warning won't come true, because of technological advancement. Every time technological advancement will take place whenever we need it. Why? Because necessity is the mother of invention. Look what actually Malthus said. Malthus said that this is your resources, okay, resources curve. Means resources are generally, they increase in arithmetic progression, they are limited in nature. This is your population curve. Fine. Population increase in geometric progression, this is what population curve. But what happens whenever we reach this point, the tipping point? What will happen? Technology will take place that will increase the resource. Fine. And again this population will go on like this. Again we reach a tipping point, then again what will happen? Then again there will be a technological advances and population will go like. So it is not just a single cycle, it is multiple cycle that follows every time, right? And therefore the limits to growth, if say it is predicted at this point, okay, L2G1, then obviously some of its warning will be true nearly L2G2 point, right? But some of its warning won't be true. This is what this entire article says, that okay, there has been some warning that has come true, but there are some warnings that have not come true. Give it a read. This is not a very important article as we can consider for examination. Yes, it's a good article to read. Give it a read. Geography optional people must give it a read, because it may attract a question regarding this limits to growth theory. More or less limits to growth theory comes every second year or third year or so, right? So there is nothing much here. Any unformable criminal justice, just read it, there is nothing much here. Any problem aimed at criminal justice reform must accept problems ingrained in our system instead of wishing them away. So if we are aiming from criminal justice reform, what is the background of this article? You understand why this article is today. Background is yesterday's news of including what? Including the iris scan and all those things. What we say, including the biometrics, right, of criminals and under trials, right, or not including exactly, means storing, okay, storing the of under trials. Okay, so this was the background, and this project aimed at criminal justice reform. Why? Because if we have such a data, then we can identification of criminals become easy. But before introducing such a criminal justice reform or such advanced criminal justice reforms, we must accept what is a problem ingrained in our system. Why do we need these reforms? What is the actual problem in the system? The actual problem is Lagarde. The actual problem is procedural law. Because the procedural law is so old that it is not able to solve today's problem. Fine, it is inconsistent with the problems of 21st century. Okay, so before getting into these heavy reforms like getting biometric, storing the biometric data for 75 years and all those things, first we need to reform these procedural laws, these Lagardes in the justice, because look, justice delayed is also justice denied. Fine, so this is related to the discussed topic. Just remember these lines. This is a good way forward when we have to write about what? When we have to write about the criminal justice reforms what is needed, what is not needed. Look, we cannot use each and every article in our answer. We have to take part of each part of article, combine it over the year, and then we'll have a very good answer regarding any topic. Okay, so this should be the approach in my opinion. You are free to take your opinion, and I'll support your opinion, not opinion exactly, I'll support your right to take your opinion. Fine. And with this we have one more thing here. Nothing, just give a read to this cache. This is cache from the archives. Okay, just give it a read. It is the news, yesterday's news, that parliamentary standing committee has asked Facebook various questions regarding alleged allegations that algorithm is used for advertising platform unfairly promotes one political party, and it is rewarding hate claim, and the language expert is not so expert in their premises. So what is the gist? The political role of Facebook and other internet giant Google has come under scrutiny after Donald Trump won the US presidential poll. Several figures pointed out that fake news stories online as a major contributor to this result. You see, this is the background. Always remember in what background a thing is coming. If you understand the background, 20-30% of the thing you can extrapolate it yourself only. In 2016, Facebook algorithm gave more weight to friends and family. Okay, in 2016 what used to happen? Algorithm used to give more weight to friends and family. That is, if someone on your friend list liked or commented a post, the chances of you seeing that post was much higher. Essentially, the algorithm placed us in a jury of our peers, looking us in a echo chambers of thought, validating each other in an infinite loop. You understand what it is saying? Means now your family or your friends, this friend list and family people know everything about you, that you are posting online. Fine. So you are under what? You are under their jury. They are judging you for everything, and you are judging them for everything, and that is making what? It is making an infinite loop. You post a photo, your family says, oh nice, or oh what are you doing there, from where you got the money, anything they can say. Similarly, you can say anything to them. So this is an infinite loop it is talking about. Truth and its arbiters are not thought much of it. Truth and its arbiters are not thought much of it in this day and age. We are now in the post-truth era, where truth is a matter of perspective, and those seeks to tell the truth are agenda driven. Okay, so we are where, according to this this article, we are in a post-truth era where truth is a matter of perspective. You see 6, I can see it 9. So truth become what? How I see it. What is the prism through which I look the statement, the matter becomes the truth. Okay, for me it may be different for you. As I always say in all my articles, article analysis. Fine. Those who seeks to tell the truth are agenda driven, and it is saying that the person who seeks to tell the truth are alleged to be driven by a agenda. It may be true, it may be false, because look, for one seeing a truth from one perspective makes the truth identity from other perspective a very agenda driven. Fine. So this is not much important. Just give it a read. Know that this thing is happening in India, because due to this, what will come in picture? The larger picture will come, like what is AI, how Facebook is implementing AI, what are India's prospect on AI, what is hate speech, is it there in the constitution, is it there in IPC, what are the provisions in constitution? If it is there, it is not there in constitution. Okay, can it be a reason for suspending article? Can it be a reasonable restriction on article 19 part 1 part, that is free speech, and all those things go simultaneously with each other. It is a long driven debate. We have to see how it unfolds, right? And with this we end the analysis for today. Okay, सो फ्रेंड्स, आई रियली होप दैट यू लाइक दिस वीडियो. अगर आपको यह वीडियो पसंद आया है तो इसे थम्स अप दें, साथ ही इसे अपने दोस्तों एवं परिवार में शेयर करें. हमें इंस्टाग्राम पर भी फॉलो करें, हमारे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करें और बेल आइकन को तुरंत से भी पहले दबा दें, ताकि हमारी सारी वीडियोस की नोटिफिकेशन सबसे पहले आप तक पहुंच जाए. आप अपने सजेशन को कमेंट बॉक्स में लिखें, हम जल्द से जल्द उसे इंप्लीमेंट करने की कोशिश करेंगे. आप सब स्वस्थ रहें, सुखी रहें, खुश रहें, सबकी केयर करें और मन लगाकर पढ़ते रहें. जय हिंद.